Falcons Fanatic Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Lucky Roberts. And safe to say today that I am a little disappointed. Not a great day in Detroit for the Atlanta Falcons today, as they fall to 2-1, 6-20. The Lions kind of flat out just dominated this entire game. Just really on all phases. I think the only really strength this Falcons had all game was their defensive line, which I think played their best game. Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata really showed up. But other than that, I mean, across the board, poor performances. I think we should start off, first of all, with Desmond Ridder, who was not his comfortable self in the second half. He kept up his uncomfortableness from the first half that he always has. He really kept it consistent and it got worse throughout the game. You could see some real frustration with him on the bench and the sideline, which usually he's fired up but not frustrated. He has composure, and today that was not it. He was sacked 7 times, 14 pressures, I think, from the Lions defense. The offensive line didn't really help him at all, but still there was many throws Desmond Ridder just didn't make. Third downs, overthrowing Drake London, missing reads to tight ends, and it was just really disappointing. And I think really what everybody expects from Ridder, I think from a third-round, second-year player, this is probably the average game you're going to get from him. He started out fine. I think he started out 8 for 10 in his first 10 dropbacks, but ever since then, 38 attempts, 21 completions, 200 yards. Just not good. And, I think everybody's going to be wondering, why didn't you run the ball more? I mean, you had 38 attempts to only 20 rushes. But this rushing attack didn't have anything going either. Tyler Algier, 7 carries, 12 yards. Bijan, 33 from 10. I mean, his longest run was his first rush of the game. Desmond Ridder, who was really running around last game, couldn't get nothing going either. We didn't really see any of those fake handoffs and pull it. He sort of was just scrambling around, and he stayed in the pocket way too long. He never really rolled out, and whenever he did, he was getting tripped up from behind. He never rolled out and did something with it. It was always a sack, and if we're lucky, maybe he throws it out. And I think the real reason this running game just was not there was because of the offensive line. I think the real reason that the passing game was there was the offensive line. Obviously, Tyler Algier had a bad game. Obviously, Desmond Ridder had a bad game. Even some of the receivers having bad games. Bijan, I think, did everything he could. There was plenty of runs you can see where he just gets instantly blown up, and he turns these 0, -1, 1-yard carries into 3 yards. Tyler Algier could not do that. He had a couple of times where he was his regular bowling ball self, but other than that, he was just getting met in the backfield, and he would take the contact, and he'd get like maybe another inch or two, but he wasn't able to get past the first contact the way Bijan does. And yeah, usually you want to see Tyler get a head of steam before he gets to that first contact, but he wasn't able to because this offensive line was just getting ripped to shreds by Aiden Hutchinson in this Detroit pass rush. And I guess I'm going to move the focus onto the passing game, which was even worse. Kyle Pitts, our leading receiver, 41 yards. Basically all of his things were just crossing routes. Nothing really that really jumps out at you. He had a couple of deep shots. Drake London had a couple of deep shots to him. Matt Collins. Deep. I'm not talking about your regular deep shot that a team would have. It's not Tua Tagovailoa throwing it deep. It's Desmond Ridder throwing it deep. Deep for Desmond Ridder is 20 yards. If he's throwing it 20 yards, that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a guy like Kyle Pitts. And it just, they weren't able to connect. Kyle Pitts, every single game he plays, he gets slower. I don't know what's really going on with him, if it's a mental thing like Calvin Ridley, or if it's a injury thing, if it's just him getting slower, which it doesn't look like that. it looks like it's almost an effort thing or an injury hampering him. Drake London, 2 receptions, 31 yards, a bunch, 6 targets, 9 targets. They're getting a decent amount of targets, but all these passes are either at their head, at the floor, or with a guy draped all over them. It's not. There's nothing they can do with these passes, and that's the thing I hate the most about Desmond Ritter, is just the fact that when he does have an open receiver, he'll he'll get it to the guy, but it's never accurate. It's never in a place where they can go and do something with it. It's always like, I have to extend both arms and then haul it in, which takes me 2 steps and then brings me out of my natural speed, and then I have to rebuild my momentum up. It's never just hit and run and they get to keep going, which his accuracy was really an issue today. And I think he got flustered being rushed so much. Jonnu Smith, 37 yards. Just uncreative, it almost feels like. Because we have the receivers to get deep, to get open. We have the receivers, big bodies that you can hit the target, and they're getting separation. You can see separation being gotten. But I just think these pass play calls are just so simple and just so readable for even a rookie like Brian Branch, who played amazing today. He looked every single part of what you want from a first-round rookie defensive player. He was all over the place, making huge tackles, deflections, almost had a pick. And this Falcons team kept giving it, like, they kept putting him in positions to make plays. Bijan didn't really get used in the passing. He had 27 yards. Matt Collins had one big, long, I say with heavy quotations, 23-yard bomb. Tyler Algier, 2 for 17. Kadarrell Hodge, Michael Pruitt. It's just not. If our running game isn't working like it usually is, it's just not gonna work. This team isn't just gonna. This is just not gonna work. Let's see. Jesse Bates had a great game. Better game than the last game. He appeared. He popped more. There was a couple of times where he got beat deep. Really in the first half, they only made him pay on one of those opportunities. But Jesse Bates with 11 total tackles. He was flying over the place. He had a pick. He's a top quality safety, and it's really what you want to see. Caden Ellis had 10 tackles. He had this one huge tackle on Sam Laporta where Jared Goff sort of flips it to him, just like, let's try to get a yard out of this play. And Caden Ellis picks up. This is a big boy, Sam Laporta. This is obviously he's a rookie, but he's got some meat on that bone. And Caden Ellis meets him, grabs both of his hind legs, flips him, and buries him into the ground. It was it was wild. Troy Anderson, he's back. I didn't really love what I saw from him today. There was many times he was matched up with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he just got cooked. He got cooked every single time. I don't think he's really a pass. He has to get there, but I'd much rather see Caden Ellis in that position than Troy Anderson. He has lots of improvement to do against the passing game. Richard Grant, I thought, had a pretty good game, actually. It seems every single time he goes to meet every time he goes to meet a rusher, he's hammering him. There was a couple of huge pounding tackles on Jahmyr Gibbs, just absolutely taking the legs from him, taking the wind out of him. Richie Grant had a great game. I think he had a couple of pass deflections as well, which isn't something you don't totally see with him. But Richie Grant, 6 tackles, 6 heavy tackles. Going to just down the list here, Trey Flowers, once again, didn't really look like a starting caliber cornerback. I don't really know why we're putting him out there that much. I guess, maybe it's just a shaky game last game, and we think maybe he'll have a better one. But he gives up some space, and there's a couple of times where Lions receivers would run on his toes, as the commentators would point out, and he'd give them like 10, 5 yards of space off of moves, which is something that I wouldn't see from D. Alford. I loved what I saw from D. Alford. He made his tackles. He didn't play that often, but he made his tackles, and he's never the guy that's getting it caught on. AJ Terrell, not his best performance either. He was still pretty good, but he wasn't elite sticky. There's many times he was matched up with Sam Laporta. Why is Sam Laporta matched up with AJ Terrell, and why is Amon-Ra St. Brown matched up with Troy Anderson? I mean, it seems pretty simple. I give credit to Dan Campbell and the Lions coaching staff for being able to craft ways for that to be the matchup, but we gotta figure that out. I didn't think our pass defense was good at all today, which our pass defense was looking pretty solid the first two games. But what I did see, what I wanted to see from the front seven, I did see, and that was David Onyemata, Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, and Grady Jarrett, who I'm talking about. Those four really, really set the tone. And obviously Troy Anderson and Caden Ellis. Caden Ellis was great. Troy Anderson, But that front seven really, really shut down the run game for most of the game and got plenty of pressure. And I understand the Lions' offensive line was basically just two toothpicks. But even still, they were able to get to Goff. And Goff, I've loved what I've seen from him the first three games. He's very, very calm. He's what we imagine Desmond Ridder to be, where he's calm in the pocket, he picks his pass. Desmond Ridder's a little more athletic than Goff, but he didn't show it in this game. And Goff, he's calm, he's poised, he puts the ball on the money, and he makes his guys let them do the play. That he's not going to show himself off, but he's not going to hurt the team either. And Desmond Ridder definitely hurt the team today. He's what I imagine the best case scenario of Desmond Ridder turns out to be, and I don't know if we're going to get there. But anyway, back to the front seven. Calais Campbell had a couple of huge TFLs. There was one time, though, where Jared Goff got the best of him on a cut, which was, I think, him really showing his age. If you're getting cooked up by Jared Goff on a cut, but even still, Calais Campbell was very solid in the run game. Didn't really get any pressures, but I mean that's not really what he's here for. You would love to see him get to his 100 sack count, but maybe someday. Grady Jarrett had a huge, he just blew up a possession in this game, which is something you used to see from old Grady Jarrett. As of late, you don't really see him take over a game as much, but he really took over this third quarter. He just had pressure after pressure, double teamed getting through, slice, move those feet. You'll love what you see from Grady Jarrett, and laid some pretty heavy hits on Jared Goff, even though if he got the ball out. I saw the exact same thing from Bud Dupree. He was working against that right tackle, that third string right tackle of the Detroit Lions, and he was just powering. He was moving him 6-7 steps back and just walking him right into Jared Goff. He had his best game of the season by far. As well, he made some great plays in run defense. I think, David Onyemata as well. He had one penalty which really killed us, extended a drive. But other than that, David Onyemata was very, very good. He got tons of pressure, and he had a huge goal line play where he just wiped a Lions offensive lineman and just crushed the running back for the Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs. So even though Jahmyr Gibbs has 17 carries for 80 yards, and even though they had 115 rushing yards, I don't think that is a product of the front seven being weak. I think that's a product of Detroit's going to rush the ball. They had 31 carries. They're going to rush the ball, and they're going to wear you down when this Falcons offense is only getting one first down per possession. They had, I think, 5 3-and-outs today, or close to it. I think 7 or 8 6-and-outs or less. Just, we weren't able to put anything together. Obviously there's a missed kick from Younghoe Koo. That's gonna happen. I mean, you'd love for him to hit that, but it was a semi long kick. Like I think it was 49 yards, and he just didn't. It was never going in. You could see from the first second it was a little sideways. It happens. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, obviously, um, but it was honestly a very key point because that was gonna put the game back within a score, and I don't really think this Falcons team was gonna win, no matter what happened. Ford Field was insane. It was basically, I mean, the loudest stadium the Falcons have played in all year. I think the Mercedes-Benz Stadium has been very loud, very, very loud the last two games. But the Detroit Lions fans showed up today. It was pretty impressive. Once again, you don't really see anything from our young pass rushers. Another game where you don't get anything from a Zach Harrison. You don't get anything from an Arnold Ebiketie. Lorenzo Carter had nothing going on. And I pointed this out last week, but still, we're spending these huge, high ranking draft picks, second rounders, third rounders every year, and not a single one has panned out. I think for the past 5 years, even going back to when we took even Tack McKinley or Vic Beasley, who were first round picks, we got nothing out of. And so we decided, if we're not going to get anything out of our first round picks, I mean, let's not spend such a high ranking pick on that sort of position. But we're not seeing nothing. We bring in a former first round pick in Bud Dupree, and he, like I said, he was good today, but he's as good as a Lorenzo Carter has been. He's not really a difference maker. He's a solid starter, if you can even call him that. On his good days, he's a solid starter. On his bad days, he's not a starter. Grady Jarrett has been basically this team's, and I mean everybody knows this team's only productive pass rusher. They've drafted and kept in-house for the past how many years? It's ridiculous. Ever since I've watched 10 years at least, I've watched this Falcons team, and we've never had an effective pass rush. The 1 year we had a semi-productive pass rush was when Vic Beasley went for 16 and a half sacks in 2016, and even then I was we didn't have a very solid pass rush. It was acceptable. It was what you would expect for a team. Not 30 sacks in a year is what you get for the past 10 years. It's disgusting, and it's really a waste. I think I don't really want to revel in my own shit, so I think I'm gonna end it here. I'll talk about games around the league in a second, but I'll come back for that. But just disgusting game. You can't win them all. Hopefully we come back next Saturday against the old Jaguars in London, and hopefully we can come back with 3-1 with a win. I don't think they played very well today, so it's definitely possible. But we'll see. Yeah, I'll be back. All right, and I'm back. Just before I recap all the rest of the games on Sunday, I just have one more quick thing I wanted to point out. I think the Falcons tried to take deep shots today, but they kept doing this sort of play action. Desmond Ridder waits, but he's holding on to the football, and obviously we don't really get the great camera angles, so I can't really see if there's anybody open. But first of all, why aren't they getting open? They're top tier receivers. They're first round, top 10 picks. Second of all, if they're not getting open in their top 10 picks, that's got to be a coaching issue. Third of all, if they are getting open and it's not a coaching issue, that's a Desmond Ridder issue. And the reason that Desmond Ridder got so many pressures and had so many pressures against him is because he's holding onto this football for 5 seconds per drop back. He's got to release the football. And maybe there's nobody open. I really will get to the bottom of that for next game, but that's just something I wanted to bring up. We need to take more deep shots with actual passing concepts that get players open. Anyway, let's get some lighter news. The Colts beat the Ravens in what was a pretty surprising result. 22-19. Colts improved to 2-1. Lamar Jackson played great in this game. He's on my fantasy team. He had 27 points. So, I mean, that's why I say he played great. But, yeah, I mean, the Colts, nobody expected the Colts to win this game. It was really a late sort of push, 2 field goals in the fourth quarter by the Colts to really bring them in. And this went to overtime. And this was it was a field goal in the fourth quarter and then a field goal to win it in overtime for the Indianapolis Colts. Baltimore, even though Lamar Jackson has a great game and even though they get a safety, their offense stays pretty weak outside of that point. We move on to the Browns and Titans. Browns win 27-3 against the Titans. I think that's pretty much what everybody expected from this game. Even though they're both 1-1 coming into this game, Browns are the much better team. There was a pretty weird play by Deshaun Watson. He sort of is getting sacked, and he knows that there's a runner behind him. Maybe it was Kareem Hunt, I don't know. And he sort of just decides to, the cardinal sin for quarterbacks. Let me just throw the ball as I'm getting sacked with nowhere to go. Let me just throw it up there. But even double cardinal sin, I didn't even know there was multiple cardinal sins, but he just figured it out. I'm going to throw it backwards to my running back who I can't see right now. I'm just going to throw it to, I hope he's there. And he throws it 10 yards backwards. And his running back isn't there. Luckily, he's able to run back, grab it, and save a fumble. But just, I mean, what is he doing? You cannot do that as a quarterback. You're supposed to protect the football. Anyway, that was pretty funny. The pretty much only highlight from that game, I would say. The Packers beat the Saints. Thank everything that is righteous in the world. 18-17. The Packers had to come back. Had a late drive. They had to win it. And Jordan Love, legacy drive. Second week in a row, he's had a chance for a legacy drive. And this time, he had it. And he knocks off the Saints from their perch, undefeated. Falcons and Saints now both 2-1, as they probably rightfully should be. Falcons probably should be 1-2 at this point. Probably the Saints as well. So, always good to see the Saints lose. Packers win by a point, close one. Saints offense, once again, does not look too effective. Texans demolish the Jaguars. I don't think anybody saw this coming. 37 points put up by this Texans team and C.J. Stroud, who has looked, I dare say, as the best rookie quarterback so far this year. Obviously, Bryce Young has been Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson has had his moments, flashing athleticism with running the ball, had some good throws, but C.J. Stroud is just picking teams apart. And the Jaguars did not have an answer for it. For the second week in a row, Jaguars offense comes out putrid. They put up 17 points, but you have a good offense, and that's not gonna fly. You're not gonna win. You're supposed to win your games by your offense, not by whatever you call this defense. Anyway, let's go to the highest scoring game you've ever seen in your life, 70-20. I don't know what sport this is. I don't know if a single sport has 70-20 games, but I don't think football does. I don't think this is a football score. 70-20, Dolphins Broncos. Dolphins now 3-0. What a wild game. That's 90 points in a game. Denver puts up 20. You'd think solid game. You didn't think they'd be losing by 50. Just wow, what a performance. This Dolphins offense is worrisome. I don't know. I thought they were going to be great this year. I think their head coach has a great way of, I think if this Falcons team had a creative passing mind as their head coach, I think we would be a hell of a lot better. Wow. 70-20. That's all I can really say about that game. Chargers, Vikings. Chargers in the battle of the 0-2 teams we thought would be good this year. Chargers eke out a win against the Vikings. And it wasn't really due to any of heroics by Justin Herbert. It was the defense with the Vikings having a chance to win the game. The Chargers defense stands up for the first time in their life, and they give this team a win. They put up 28 points. It wasn't clutch by the offense. It was clutch by the defense, and the Vikings are now 0-3. I think their season is officially over. We'll see how the Chargers can bounce back. It's still not looking great for the Chargers, but at least they are 1-2. Patriots beat the Jets. They are now 1-2. 15-10. I think that is probably exactly what I thought the score would be. Patriots are able to hold on, knock off the Jets. Zach Wilson, please, somebody send him to the CFL right now. I mean, he's done. He's been done since he's been drafted. Please get yourselves any other quarterback anywhere. Sign a guy off the street. I do not care. Just have somebody wear a Zach Wilson mask. I don't care. Just please don't put Zach Wilson in a game next week. Patriots win. First win of the season. It's not pretty. Their fans are going to try to convince you that they're for real, that they're going to be good, that this is their wake-up call they needed, and they know they're not being truthful with that. This was a gimme game. They were going to win this anytime, and it wasn't a dominating win as you would have hoped. Their defense, I guess, showed up. And the final game, Bills-Commanders. Bills put up 37 against a Commanders team that had no reason to be 2-1. 2-0, just like the Falcons, just like the Saints. And they sort of get a wake-up call. Here, bring yourself back to reality. 37 points. Josh Allen looks impressive once again. I would love to see this happen in the playoffs, but that's what everybody's gonna say. It was a good win. Commanders coming back to earth a little bit, as I think they should. And that's gonna do it for me. You're gonna hear me next weekend when the Falcons go up to London and play the Jaguars. In the meantime, check out my Twitter. Subscribe, do all those things, whatever you want to do. No pressure. I'm not going to pressure you to do nothing. I'll see you back next weekend. Let's hope we have a better performance than 6 points. I think everybody would love to see that when they're waking up or super early for that game. And so that's going to do it for me. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week.